a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Sleepless in Seattle. Sleepless in Seattle is a 1993 American romantic comedy drama film directed and co-written by Nora Ephron, based on a story by Jeff Arch. It stars Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, alongside a supporting cast featuring Bill Pullman, Ross Malinger, Rob Reiner, Rosie O'Donnell, Gaby Hoffmann, Victor Garber, and Rita Wilson. Released on June 25, 1993, the film was a critical and commercial success, grossing over $220 million worldwide. Plot: after Chicago architect Sam Baldwin loses his wife Maggie to cancer, he and his 8-year-old son Jonah start a new life in Seattle. But they continue to grieve. A year and a half later, on Christmas Eve, Jonah calls into a radio talk show. Jonah persuades a reluctant Sam to go on the air to talk about how much he misses Maggie. Hundreds of women from around the country who hear the program are not touched by the story write to Sam. One of the listeners is Annie Reed, a Baltimore Sun reporter who is engaged to Walter, but feels there is something missing from their relationship. After watching the film An Affair to Remember, Annie impulsively writes a letter suggesting that Sam meet her on top of the Empire State Building on Valentine's Day. She does not intend to mail it, but her friend and editor Becky does it for her and later agrees to send Annie to Seattle. Sam begins dating a co-worker, Victoria, whom Jonah dislikes. Jonah reads Annie's letter and likes that it mentions the Baltimore Orioles, but he fails to convince his father to go to New York to meet Annie. On the advice of his playmate Jessica, Jonah replies to Annie, agreeing to the New York meeting. While dropping Victoria off at the airport for a flight, Sam sees Annie exiting from her plane and is mesmerized by her, although he has no idea who she is. Annie later secretly watches Sam and Jonah playing on the beach together. The next day she goes again to Sam's houseboat, but mistakes Sam's sister for Victoria. He recognizes her from the airport and says, "Hello," but Annie only responds with another "hello" before fleeing. She returns to Baltimore and then goes to New York to meet Walter for Valentine's Day. With Jessica's help, Jonah flies to New York and goes to the Empire State Building searching for Annie. When Sam discovers what Jonah did, he grabs a later plane and follows Jonah, where he finds him on the observation deck. Meanwhile, Annie sees the skyscraper from the Rainbow Room where she is dining with Walter, and confesses her doubts to him, amicably ending their engagement. She rushes to the Empire State Building just moments after the doors to the down elevator close with Sam and Jonah inside. The observation deck is deserted, but Annie discovers a backpack that Jonah left behind. As she pulls out Jonah's teddy bear from the backpack, Sam and Jonah emerge from the elevator, and the three meet for the first time. Sam indicates they should go and offers his hand to Annie. The three then enter the elevator together and the doors close. Critical response: the film received positive reviews from critics. The review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reports that 72% out of 45 professional critics gave the film a positive review, with a rating average of 6.5. On Metacritic, the film has a 72 out of 100 rating, based on 17 critics, indicating generally positive reviews. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times lauded Sleepless in Seattle is as ephemeral as a talk show, as contrived as The Late Show, and yet so warm and gentle I smiled the whole way through. He added, Vincent Canby of the New York Times similarly called it a feather-light romantic comedy, and wrote, "It's a stunt, but it's a stunt that works far more effectively than anybody in his right mind has reason to expect." Not since Love Story has there been a movie that so shrewdly and predictably manipulated the emotions for such entertaining effect. Musical adaptation. In 2009, development began on a musical version of Sleepless in Seattle. David Shaw was announced as the musical's producer, with a book being written by Jeff Arch, Shaw's longtime partner and original story writer for the motion picture. Leslie Bricusse was initially attached to the project, but withdrew due to creative differences with the show's producer and director. Michelle Citterin, Michael Garin and Josh Nelson were announced to be working on the music and lyrics, with Shaw discovering Citterin via YouTube. The musical was initially set to release in 2010. with the premiere date later being moved to 2011 and June 2012. In February 2012, Shaw announced that the musical would not premiere until the 2012-13 season and that the show would undergo a top-to-bottom overhaul and would have a new creative team. With a new score by composer Ben Toth and lyricist Sam Foreman, the musical version premiered at the Pasadena Playhouse in May 2013. In 2015, producer David Shaw teamed with British producer Michael Rose and announced that they plan to open the show together with a revamped creative team in London during the 2016-2017 season. In March 2016, the show was workshopped at the English Touring Theatre in London and both Shaw and Rose declared the workshop a resounding success. Plans are underway for the casting and opening of the show. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?